Right, I want to start by saying hi, and thank you really for taking time out to join us. It, it's hard to imagine actually just how busy you all are. The people that I've got to talk to are just literally working flat out. So thank you. And today really is about you, and it's about how we can help promote rapid learning and change by sharing and capturing some of the great work that's going on out there to help you manage the crisis. So that's where we're at, and I'll get on with it because I know time is precious. Basically, you know, we're all aware we're living in absolutely unprecedented times. COVID-19, it's just swiftly and brutally reshaped the world we live in. And we are presented with a humanitarian crisis of huge proportions. To be honest, you know, who could have imagined something where everybody's life was impacted, and that everybody would have needs that needed to be addressed. It's unfolding as well at a scale and speed that makes it very difficult to grasp, because you are looking particularly at a rapidly evolving situation that you have to respond to. Totally unpredictable. And I think at a time when human support and contact is so much needed, you know, social distancing has become a norm, and there's a huge reliance on digital technology to bridge the gap. I think it's hard to imagine where we would have been without digital technology, particularly, you know, for you in local government and public services, because you're absolutely crucial to managing this crisis. You know, you are one of those groups of people, those key essential workers who are just helping everybody. And I think that the good thing is that actually you've got lots of experience, almost 10 years experience of using technology to transform your work, how you communicate, how you deliver services. And although that hasn't been necessarily swift or easy, I think one thing is clear: you have learned an awful lot and you are really rising to the challenge. It's extraordinary. So what I want to do is I want to start with a quick kind of overview of how you've been bringing all of that experience to bear, building on your knowledge and using the platform to you know, solutions to successfully move forward into action. But then I want to actually drill down and look at some of the details of this great practice. And I want to start with an apology. There is absolutely no way I can mention everybody. You're all doing amazing things. So this isn't a choice of the best. These are a flavour of what's happening out there. So it's actually a tribute to you all. And then I'm going to end today by looking at a forward note and trying to highlight some of the resources we want to make available to you to share your stories and achievements so we can go on learning together. So I had to check again some of the dates, because in reality, we've probably been deploying for about 3 weeks, which is such a short timescale when you look at the usual time it takes for change. But within this time, just to give you an overview, we've seen 300 plus new COVID-related forms built, implemented, deployed. 150 of these are for community support alone. And we've seen over 80,000 submissions around business support grant funding, about community shielding, about well-being, about education and childcare, and about internal processes, how councils are managing to run their business continuity. That doesn't include the Department of Education, who have built a form and process to get information on a daily basis from school about who's attending, who they're looking after. And if you look at the figures there, that's the last 14 days. So are they working? I pretty much think they are. And then in terms of Gov delivery, communicating, absolutely crucial now. And if you look at the changes they've seen, there are now almost 17 million unique subscribers to Gov delivery, a 281% increase on 2 months ago. There's a weekly network growth of about over 28,000. Bulletin sends have doubled and are about over 36,000 a month. You can look at the number of millions of messages that have gone out since January to the 23rd of March. And also what is good is there's been clear ICO guidance that says in this kind of crisis, you don't have to have had a sign up or permission. If it's about support, health, well-being, then you can just send messages out. Too many categories to mention, so if I can just say that, you know, there's so much information out there in terms of advice, guidance, signposting, getting feedback. So what I would say is councils often aren't known for being agile and responsive, but if you take a look at that, it's an incredible response. The other thing is that I wanted to mention is it's not just a sledgehammer to crack a nut. It's not just a newsletter to keep everybody informed. Fantastic targeted messaging going out to all audiences. Also, in terms of development of other things as well, just to give you a flavour, you know, of some of the things that we've been doing with customers, single sign-ons, calendar bookings. That was particularly important for Reading because they were closing their drop-in centres and they needed something fast. Remote training for people who are putting more people to work building forms. So we've had to do that remotely. Yeah, digital workspace, both Reading and East Riding have quickly implemented shared digital workspaces to help in coordinate the work with community organisations, and I'm going to talk specifically about that later. In terms of Gov delivery, you know, the things that are being put together are really being done within a 24-hour period. New templates, new sending addresses, list imports, so you can send out lots of emails to staff, automated comms. So much information is all being put together at speed and well used. So I want to start by really talking about digital connectivity and how it is absolutely supporting a coordinated approach to action in these times. Basically, the leadership team is desperate. It needs information, it needs insight. And what is really great is that what we're seeing being pulled together are the knowledge and understanding that you already have within organisation, those skills that you have are being pulled together, used at daily stand-ups. I know certainly places like Kirklees and Plymouth, they're bringing together their communications and web team, ICT, customer services, and human resources, because this is about their staff as well, in daily stand-ups, so that what they're getting is effective communication, insight from the front line, insight from citizens, so they can take a real agile response to emerging issues. And you're getting emerging issues every day, priorities, new policies, and it helps in terms of identifying different audiences and needs, and particularly about refocusing resources. So, in terms of being responsible and adaptive, how do you maximize your resources? We've seen some really fantastic messaging with to gather using the internal portal and forms to gather and collect data from staff, you know, information about staff absences, whether it's self-isolation, things like skills surveys, and in particular about volunteering, what people can do, where there are staff shortages, where there are emerging priorities, where staff need to be redeployed. Certainly finding out what skills staff have got, what capabilities they've got, has helped an incredibly rapid deployment of staff when actually your resources are shrinking because, you know, staff like everyone else have to go into isolation. So what we've seen is some very, very great responses. East Riding have had more than 4,000 staff complete their skills survey form. All of that information is being channeled up to your decision makers so they can make that incredible response quickly to changing priorities, becoming really adaptive organisations. And I think I want to start with staff in terms of messaging, because one of the things that's really important is they're out there, often in the front line. They need to be safe, they need to be informed, they need to be connected, and they need to be valued. And we've seen some fantastic examples of this. You know, the chief exec of Telford and Wrekin, and thank you. He said I could put this slide up. You know, giving a video message out to all staff, you know, makes them feel part and parcel of an organisation when often they're working at distance, you know, makes them feel valued. Targeted information. I was really impressed by Nottingham City Council, their education department, their director of education. His communication to staff comes with a traffic-like approach. Red for read it now, orange for what's coming next, and green for read it when you've got a moment. That makes it much more easy to deal with that massive amount of information that staff are having to deal with. A wellbeing, we've seen lots and lots of councils put out lots of information, links to other information to protect their well-being. You know, Hounslow's message to their adult social care managers about taking care of their staff. Lots of helpful links and resources about taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, taking care of your soul. I love the concept of random acts of kindness promoting well-being. And I think that, as I say, it would be great to hear lots and lots more of the things that are happening in terms of supporting staff's well-being. And then I think also that concept of being recognised and valued. And again, I think lots of information going out about thank you for everyday heroes who are out there, whether it's bin men, social care staff, or the back office staff who are supporting them. It's really, really important that staff feel that kind of value for the work that they're doing, because in some cases, you know, they are out there at risk. So what we've seen are fantastic communication strategies being developed through Gov Delivery. And it's about really local government becoming an absolute strong communication hub, a network of the truth. Managing information load, I talked about it with staff, but also we're seeing that with citizens and businesses, you know, regular updates, bite-sized pieces to help manage that information overload. Because I think, to be honest, in some senses we feel, certainly I feel, there is so much out there. How do you identify what's right? And how do you take it on board in really good bite-sized chunks? So I think we've seen lots of examples of that. I think dispel misinformation, and unfortunately, you know, there always is a lot of information out when you're using misinformation out there, sometimes when you're using digital communications. And I think being able to direct people from one place to trusted sources is really fantastic. You know, and most councils have put something in place that gives links to all sorts of things, but in a way that make it easy and accessible, and people can do it at their own pace, which is really, really great. And then I think the other one is about, you know, capturing all those different groups. And I've just put up, you know, for, you know, Coventry City Council out to their citizens, but everyone has, you know, different groups of citizens, and we've seen lots of targeting going on because you know your citizens better than anyone, and therefore, you know, you're developing things that reflect the local need. Businesses, great information going out to businesses, and then, as I said, to staff, but not just to staff, to elected members. You know, elected members update, they need to get regular information. They need to get it in a format that it's easy to understand. So I think what we've seen is, you know, a real move to this fantastic communication, digital communication strategy. Oh, making it eye-catching. Yeah, you know, some of it's just great. Some of the things, you know, we've got pop-up boxes like the one at Waltham Forest, really great visual images, video, pulling everything together. So, you know, one update that highlights the latest Twitter, so that people can link in wherever they want. I think we've seen some really good promotion of please use online services if you're able, because it frees up staff. So I think, you know, those kind of really great, eye-catching, easy to understand messages are just great. I wanted to just say a little bit about the hard to reach in particular, because we've got a number of groups that are probably more vulnerable because of the crisis, because of being isolated in lockdown. And I think you're engaging even with the hard to reach, and we've seen some great stuff. Some of the work that Sheffield have done around domestic abuse, in terms of making sure that there's information out there that you're not on your own, help's at hand. And I think that's really important for people who might be in lockdown in situations of danger. I think one of the other ones that I saw that I really liked was the Dumfries and Galloway. Their chief social worker has put together a short video on child protection, saying what they're doing to protect our most vulnerable children, but also asking people to be their eyes and ears and giving them an easy way to report any concerns they've got. The other one is homelessness, and we know that homeless people and rough sleepers are probably one of the hardest groups to engage with. And we've had, you know, Telford and Wrekin recognising that, and their council's cabinet agreeing to give emergency grants to charities that work with the homeless and rough sleepers, so that they can help them cope with the coronavirus outbreak, get them somewhere safe, get them into supported accommodation. Telford and Hackney was another great example, you know, with a fantastic message and links to StreetLink, which helps people report any concerns they've got about rough sleepers, how to contact them if someone is at risk, and also things like how to let your property if you've got something that's unused and self-contained. The Hackney message is really good, because one of the things that they've let everybody know is that they've already got 50 people, you know, off the streets and into safe and self-contained accommodation. So great way of engaging the hard to reach groups. I think children and young people, you know, I'm really lucky. Mine are very, very grown up, but I think anybody who is on lockdown with children and young people, it's difficult sometimes. But also I think the recognition that young people need support too. Young Hackney recognise send messages that recognise it can be overwhelming and confusing time for young people, hard for them to really understand the situation, and there's so much, as we talked about, out there. So you know, they can sign up for daily updates on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Really good way of getting information. You know, information about how to stay healthy, lots of information with great links to things to do, activities to do at home. The Wrexham health and well-being update for young people, some great links to the MEC site, Someone's on Your Side, how people can get in touch, and understanding for different age groups. So I think being able to target you know, our next generation, and again, people who are you know, possibly struggling to deal with it. Bradford as well, you know, advice for pregnant mums, but also parents with young children. You know, how am I going to manage this? Normally I would potentially have support coming from the community, my family. Really important messages that are coming out. I think dealing with isolation and uncertainty, and actually, you know, I have to say, although I'm generally quite you know, quite busy and upbeat, I think it does come over you in waves sometimes. Just, you know, that whole, when is this going to end? How long is it going to be like this? And we've seen some really great examples again of targeted great messages going out. You know, what about creative projects to help you reduce social isolation from Bradford? I really liked the East Ayrshire approach, which I thought was so nice, because it was about well-being tips generally, you know, about looking after everything about yourself, but also it linked to this great coping calendar, a week of what to do, you know, to help you keep calm, to help you stay sane. Really good information. And Nottingham, you know, tailored advice for you going out. You know, take the mind plan quiz. You know, if you're feeling overwhelmed, have a look. You're not on your own. The NHS have put this together. And I think it's those kind of things. And there are so many of them out there, which is absolutely fantastic. It is, it's absolutely fantastic. Whoops, something gone direly wrong with my my PowerPoint. Okay, I think particularly, I think now I want to move on to about mobilisation, about using Gov service to actually gather that information to allow people to apply for support, and particularly, you know, that kind of community network approach. So if you look at Waltham Forest, you know, their messaging goes out, and it's leads them to a let's get stuff done. You know, you can request help, you can sign up for a volunteer, you can donate to crowdfunding. You know, this is a fantastic opportunity, and basically they've already had 183 backers. 21,000, over 21,000 pounds has come in. All that money is going to go directly to community organisations to ensure, you know, vulnerable older people get the help and support they need. Wirral, you know, put in, if you are in need of emergency food requests, you know, get this filled in. We're looking at using forms quickly to get the information into an organisation, and then to actually make sure it's workflowed and responded to quickly. I think the other issue is making sure that the message about vulnerability, as we said, for hard to reach groups, gets out to everyone. Kirklees have put forward, you know, lots of multilingual options available, so that non-English speakers don't miss out on the information about how they can get help. I know Tower Hamlets in their Bengali newsletter ensured messages were getting out to people who didn't have English as a first language. So lots and lots of information going out there, but making sure that everybody's getting the message. I think the other area where we've seen really good, great processes being developed to get the information in, enable people to apply, and then get things out swiftly. Really, really important is around businesses and people with self-employed. And I think it's that idea of getting clear, targeted information out, but then linking that with something that makes it incredibly easy to apply and get the grant. So if you look at the Southampton example, message goes out about businesses, support, direct link to a complete an online application. It's a smooth, seamless process, and that's exactly what's needed to get that money out there as fast as possible. Similarly, I know Renfrewshire, I think they pulled an all-nighter, I heard from them, to make sure that they got their forms ready out, sent out the messages about business support, direct linking to help all of those different people who need it. So seamless support, targeted communication, direct application, fast delivery of financial support, fast build and deployment. I know that when Kirklees went live with their business support forms, they went live at 10 a.m. in the morning, and they'd had 1,000 applications in the first 6 hours, because they were able to integrate with their exchequer team. They were taking bank details and the money was being rapidly transferred. That's the kind of swift response that we should be incredibly proud of. I want to take the opportunity actually to highlight one area of practice, one council's practice, and this isn't because I think it's the only place that's great or it is good practice, and there's lots of good practice out there. But for me, I wanted to highlight it because I think that it basically shows about using the platform, the solutions within the platform, because basically that's what they've done. And the reason that I know about it is I've actually Marie Greenwood and Alison, who put the form together and built the processes. They took the time out and spent 10 minutes and then sent me some information so I would understand exactly what they'd done. So big thank you to them, and to their head of service who supported them all the way. So basically, again, it started with getting the message out quickly. We're doing something, and then moved through what I would say is really good iterative improvement. So it started out as yes, we need a form to do our community response. Great opportunity. They were going to work with Smile, one of their community groups. They were going to be the distributors. So that's how the whole thing started. In actual fact, very quickly they're going, whoa, we don't want to be emailing things to different people. We're going to use, GovService. Everybody's going to have it workflow to them. And I think initially there was a little bit of, oh, I'm not sure about this. And I think that's where having senior support was really good, because they said absolutely no. And everybody is going to use the workflow and Dash. And then looking at, well, actually, how can we make our community groups part of our a virtual part of our teams as a response, and using the shared digital workspace so that they could easily log on, pick up their tasks. So basically the process, and apparently every day it got better and improved and changed, and they don't think it's there yet. Basically now 9 different community hubs all have their own shared digital workspace. The form gathers the information, and I put a little workflow up there, but you might not be able to see it. They can have a triage stage. There's also it looks at the address, gathers the information, looks at the address, and then workflows it to one of the voluntary hubs with Smile to pick it up and deliver it. So they're working to deliver food parcels, but also now they have a link, and the social prescribing team have a shared digital workspace, and they're now dealing with any mental health problems, medication issues, loneliness. So this process really has been developed over 2 weeks, and it's a really effective end-to-end process. As of the 1st of April, more than 1,200 people have been helped. So for me, this is about joining up the dots of all the different solutions we have and using them effectively to create an incredibly innovative and streamlined response to vulnerable people. So what I wanted to do was to move on and really start having a little think about we're learning so much all the time, and what does it mean for the future really, preparing for what is a new reality, looking ahead to after the storm. And I was struck the other night by, I don't know if any of you have read Hilary's book Sapiens, but I have, and I'm a big fan. And he was interviewed and he said something that really resonated with me. He said, "This storm will pass, but the decisions made will shape the world to come, because we're fast forwarding historical processes." And that really rung true, in that, the decisions you are making, the way you're using technology is shaping the world to come, and it's doing it at such speed. Now, I don't think it's necessarily going to be easy. I think we're going to have continued uncertainty for a long time, and I don't think any of us fully understand the economic impact that it will have. Everyone's behaviours change. We've got used to working at home. It doesn't seem such a big deal anymore for some groups. If I look at call centres, I know that Plymouth spun up in a matter of a week. A separate, they had all of their call centre staff already working from home, but they spun up a separate one to deal with the community response work. Fantastic, with staff who hadn't even worked in a call centre necessarily before. But I think it is a watershed. There is no going back. And I think what's important is, what we've seen is the knowledge and understanding you have to push those digital solutions as hard as you can. So I think the good things to come out of it are, you've proven you can achieve and you will deliver for your communities and your citizens huge value. Where would they have been if you stand back? The whole concept of councils as place shapers, who look after sustainable communities and ensure they remain that way, I think has just been proven in the last month. You've shown the ability to respond to continual change, adaptability, to deploy resources and services, to actually come forward with a huge plethora of innovation, to join up the essentials and actually to make a positive difference for all. I think councils have always done that, but sometimes it hasn't been particularly high profile. I think it is now, and I think most people will understand just how important you are to their lives. So, in the recovery challenge, and I think for me, it's about meeting the recovery challenge together. I think basically in terms of business continuity and sustainability, what you've grasped is the ability to show that you can be resilient. You can show your adaptability. Flatter structures, basically people are working out there on their own. You know, you're making best use of staff are home working, you can push decisions nearer customers, you can empower staff with the information, the knowledge and the skills to work much more independently. Proactive communications, fantastic, you know, great communication strategies. Collaborative, multifunctional, you know, people being able to work in multifunctional teams, do jobs they haven't done before, use skills they haven't done. Agile and efficient development, helping to meet the benefits realization. You know, how are we going to continue to become more efficient, because we know that money's going to be tight. And finally, the good thing about data digitally is we get all of that data. How can we use it to make sure that we continue to learn? Basically, it's about becoming empowering structures with totally new business models that look at all of those things. So I want to leave really on the strategic partnership. I think we've worked really, really well, and always, you know, our focus has been on how can we support you in success. But I think that this has proven a huge opportunity as well, and we have created a whole number of new resources to help you share good practice, learn together, and they're on this slide, which you'll be able to take forward. You know, we've got blogs about how to make a difference in comms, how to tackle COVID-19 with online self-service, delivery tips in terms of communication, outreach examples that will start to gather all of those good examples. So please, please keep letting us know. Public sector guide to, you know, to dealing with a crisis, and Gov Community, which is a Slack channel for you all to go on and share with each other. What are you doing? Your stories, what worked well, what maybe didn't work well, ask for information. And I noticed that we've also now got some forms on the support portal in terms of the forums where people have offered up so thank you, Wirral, I think you were one of the first who've said, you know, please share our form if it's helpful, this is what we've done. I think there was a Harrogate form on there as well. So there's lots and lots of information out there to help. And I think that basically, since we launched at the summit as Granicus in January, we have had an even bigger focus on how can we work as a strategic partner. You know, we want to continue to bring additional resources to the table. We want to help you continue to share the things you're doing so that the pace of change is good. And we're going to be continuing to develop our commitment to empowering you to maximising the benefits of digital technology, you know, helping you address the inevitable budget reissues that we're moving forward. How do you make savings? How do you make things more efficient? You know, how are we going to have that kind of long-term sustainability? How to deliver the best citizen experience? How are we going to continue to meet future demand? And help with identifying new and emerging technology so you can continue to push the boundaries of what you can achieve. You know, basically delivering better outcomes and continuing to make that positive difference every day. So thank you for listening. I hope it's given you a kind of idea of some of the things that are happening there. We know about them because people are sharing. As always, you are generous in terms of sharing the things that you've done really well. Please use the opportunity to go on the Gov Community and continue to give us great examples of what you're doing. Let us know. You know, I'm happy you can email us, but there are huge opportunities to share. So keep doing what you're doing. I shall look forward to hearing more and more from you. And once again, I just wanted to say thank you for everything you're doing, and thank you for coming on today, and keep safe.